Alright, so Absalom decides that he would like to be king, and he starts sitting outside of the gate. The gate is always a big and important place in Middle Eastern and Near Eastern thought and culture, because it's kind of it controls access to the city, and it's built in and out of the city. Anyway, he starts sitting outside of the gate, bringing about judgment when David is not, and starts getting the people to follow him. So he becomes very popular, and the people start to follow him. So again, he's sitting somewhere right around here, and he gets the people to follow him. Finally, David figures out that he is pulling off a coup. He's about to come in and kill David. So David decides to flee before the city can be engulfed in war. David gets a number of people who will follow him, and they will go out here and start back up the Mount of Olives. It's really, so there's good King David, who is going to go out, let's see here. Yeah, basically out from the city of David right around here, and up, probably up this seam right here over to the top of the Mount of Olives. Basically the same route that the Savior, so here you can see another view of it going up just over on this side, probably perhaps on this side. The same route that the Savior would follow during the last week of his life, going back and forth. David may have taken a slightly different route. The Savior would have taken, let's see here if we get to this picture again. The Savior is up in the temple, so he's up in this area, and so the most natural seam for him is on this side. David is going to be a little further, probably right around here is where the gate would have been, so he may take the seam up this side, but not much of a difference. So he flees. He takes some men with him. Some he sends back to be spies on his behalf, and to try and persuade Absalom to do things that won't work out well for Absalom. To begin with, Zadok, who is one of the high priests, is bringing the Ark of the Covenant with him. And David says, Zadok, you go back, be a force for good there on my behalf, but what's more, take the Ark of the Covenant back in the city. I don't want it to leave the city. If the Lord will help me, then I'll come back and be there in the city with the Ark again. And if it's not the Lord's will, if because of what I've done, the Lord doesn't want me to have the kingdom, then so be it. This will be the Lord's will that someone else will have control of the city and the ark. And so Zadok goes back and will work on David's behalf there in the city. And from then on, his family will be the high priestly line, and they're known as the Zadokite priests and the Zadokite families because of Zadok, which means righteous, by the way. And so this will be an important family throughout the rest of the history of Israel because of their support for David. A number of people help David. As he gets to the top of the hill, he meets someone who has a bunch of food and a bunch of asses for he and his men that are fleeing. And this man says these are actually Mephibosheth's. He's hoping that today he gets the kingdom again, but I would rather help you. And so David blesses that man. Some people work against David, and so on. Eventually, Joab is able to gather an army, and he will start to approach from here. And so Absalom will go out to meet him. And here in the hill country of Ephraim, just north of Jerusalem, they will meet. And that is where Absalom will be caught by, presumably his hair. It says his head, but he's in the thick forest, and he's got this amazing head of hair that he's so proud of. And Absalom will slay, Joab will slay Absalom despite David's wishes, I think partially because Absalom worked so hard to help, Joab worked so hard to help Absalom, and then Absalom betrayed him. And so Joab gets his revenge, and it breaks David's heart. Even though his son has rebelled against him, he loves that son. Rebelled against him a few times, but he loves that son. And so that battle takes place in this area that used to be forested, and David is restored to Jerusalem. We find after the death of Uriah, things never go that well for David. They were nothing but glorious before and nothing but troubled after that. He has another part of Israel rebel against him, and he's able to put that down and bring them back. And some of this rebellion is the result of the fact that the kingdom was always want to separate, and it was only because of David's great charisma and the trust they had in him that they followed him. And once that trust is betrayed and everyone knows about it, it's hard for David to maintain that control. Thus, while the kingdom starts to fall apart around him, we see at the very end of his life, David is still praising the Lord and speaking through inspiration. He has in large measure found forgiveness, but his story is a sad one because of what he has lost.